Jeff, how do you find all the good dispersed camping sites?
Are Jeff and Melissa stuck in the National Forest? We'll find out in this episode of Cruising Circadia. Watch until the end for our Getting Stuck story.
I think they're fantastic. We looked for a pay station on the way and, oh, that's right, there isn't one.
Okay, one, make sure you know if you're in BLM, that is Bureau of Land Management, or National Forest. And once you are, you can camp anywhere, right?
Yeah, there are guidelines. They want you to stay on kind of existing roads and not to tramp down anything that's growing, and stay off the vegetation, stay off the plains. But there's plenty of roads, there's plenty of places where people are obviously camped. If you could argue that someone's been there in the past, then you'd probably be safe if somebody wanted to hassle you. We've never been hassled.
Are there going to be any hookups when you're out dispersed camping?
Not likely. Nowhere to plug in your curling iron and your
no hair dryers.
No hair dryers. No foot fixers.
Yeah. Do you have to worry about your neighbors playing loud music at night?
Very seldom. However, once in a while you get some yahoo that shows up with a big generator, and you do your best. People are pretty considerate. If you're in a spot that's difficult and it's really limited places and people are rolling in late at night, generally people will just keep their mouths shut and just kind of show up, and you don't really notice them at all. We've never had a hard time.
No. Try it out. Dispersed camping. Leave no trace. Pack it in. Pack it out. National Forest. BLM land.
Go to fs.usda.gov for some National Forest Service info, and then I think it's blm.gov, and there are plenty of maps you can download. Topo map, clearly marked to show you which areas are what, and it shows you where the BLM stations are. There's always phone numbers to call. Really helpful people. If you call them, they'll help you out for sure.
All right, let's go camping.
For some of the camper people out there, newer camper people, there's a couple things that come up for us. Questions. On the back of the rig, these campers generally come with some brackets and a flip down step. This is where the brackets are. There's 3 of them on this truck. Looks like you can move this from one side to the next, and you can change where the flip down step is located. We took it off and we found these at Camping World. I think they're available online. There's a 3-step version as well, and they're slick. They're plenty strong. They snap in, they pull out, and they give you substantially more step to work with here. And this guy's been great. This is $75. It's aluminum, powder coated. It weighs just a couple pounds and it's real strong. So this has been perfect for us. I just through bolted the best I could here, and I riveted into the bracket. I put a little plate under there to shore up the back of it, and it's been great for us. Kind of a luggage rack. This is a 2-inch receiver, and I cut it short, and I stuffed another piece of 2-inch iron in there. So it goes right into the back of the truck. I do have a drop hitch for it that'll drop it down, but it scratches on driveways coming out. So I've just kind of decided that from now on, you can see where I've dragged a little bit, and I've got a bunch of hose clamps tying it down. I figured that this was not gonna make it through this trip, so I just strapped it, and then I put a bunch of firewood on it, and I figured, if it came loose, no big deal. It's perfect for carrying dirty stuff. I used to carry a generator on it, and I've decided to go to a smaller generator. I had a Yamaha 2400, which is about 75 pounds. It was just too heavy to deal with. So I got a Honda 2200 last year. We have a boat. It has a 5 kW Kohler generator that's been out for a couple of years. It's right in the engine compartment, and it's really difficult, challenging to service the motor. Having a portable generator, we're just carrying in the back of the pickup right now, and the Honda is only, 45 pounds. Super quiet, and it'll run the air conditioner on this. It's like a 11,000 or 13,000 BTU air conditioner. Loads up a little bit when it starts, but it does start it and it does run it. So I'm thinking of do a bigger battery bank on this truck. Right now I have 4 6-volt golf cart batteries I've rigged up to run at 12 volts, and it does everything we need. We have propane for heat, run the microwave a little bit. I might go to a big inverter at some point. This is the slide. It's where the dinette is. A couple little cubbies here. This was where the generator lived. This camper probably came with an Onan 2400 watt generator run on propane. We bought it. I think the guy that we bought it from picked it up at auction, and it was a foreclosure. And I think the couple that had it pulled the generator out just to get some cash. I would think they're pretty easy to get money out of, $3,000 or $4,000. So I never put a new generator in. Portable's fine for us. In its place, I've got 2 of the golf cart batteries, and I've got 2 more in here. I've got a number 2 gauge connector wire with a disconnect right here. When the camper comes off, I can unplug, and then this is running off the 2 batteries that are in the truck. So when the truck's driving, it's a dual alternator, so it'll charge the batteries in the camper. if we do a couple 100 miles, we're on for 3 or 4 hours. We get back in and the batteries are fully charged inside the camper. So it's pretty good. It makes a big difference. And I have a low voltage cutoff, so when the truck is off and it's still connected to the camper, if for any reason we get down below some certain point, which is adjustable on the controller, these batteries will shut down, so it protects the truck. A couple different ways to do it. The way that I've done it seems to work okay for us. It's nice knowing that the truck is going to be okay and ready to start. So if it were a boat, it would be the kind of the starting batteries in the truck, house batteries separated. They're never, theoretically, never drain the truck down and the starting battery down. We'd always be able to get going and running if we need to. Another question that comes up a lot on camper forums for people that are just getting started, we kind of learned the hard way. I mentioned earlier that we had a brand new 1-ton single rear wheel crew cab. Thought we had plenty of truck to pick this thing up and to go with it. And once I got it and got the camper on it, I started throwing money at it. I knew right away that I should have had a dually. My only reservation about having a dually was where do you park at the mall, and it's kind of simple stuff like that. That is a total non-issue. For those of you that are thinking about getting a dual rear wheel drive, paying attention and planning ahead is necessary sometimes, but it's great. It's just fantastic, especially with having so much weight in the rear end of these things. But a couple things that were donors from the original truck, and we got this, were what they call stable loads. Stable loads are aftermarket gizmos that you bolt into the springs. Here, I'll kind of give you a little look at them. Very easy to install. And I think they make a difference. I've run without the lowers and the uppers, and it definitely seems to load down and swing a little bit more. But the way that they work is the upper blocks, which you can see there and here, are bolted directly to the upper overload spring stops. Usually there's a little piece of rubber here, and these bolt in, and what they do is they start to touch this upper overload spring. This is a factory spring. I didn't do anything here. And the lower ones, maybe this one's probably easier to see. This guy right there bolts to the lower overload, and that's a really stiff, hard spring that really only does any work when the truck's got a bunch of weight in it. And this part pivots out of the way when you're not running down on the road, and then we swing it in, and when the truck's unloaded, you can do it without having to monkey around with it. So you pull this pin out, slide it, put it back in, and these are great. I also installed Firestone airbags, and they sit back here. Really manual. I didn't do anything fancy with them. I can inflate each one separately in the rear. I'm glad I did it. It levels out the truck. I didn't have a real big boat that we trailered. Then I might have gone with what they call a Timbrin, which is a preloaded, it's like a cushy coil, like the Pillsbury Doughboy kind of looking thing, and it bolts into the spot where those airbags sit, and it supports the axle and the leaf spring. So it carries the frame and the leaf spring, and then when it really loads up, it's got a spring inside of it, and it dampens that up and down. I think that would have been a good way to go. The factory sway bar is on this. There's an aftermarket sway bar that we bought for our first truck. Manufactured is called Hellwig. Their bigwig sway bar, it's kind of famous. It made a giant difference in our single rear. It was night and day coming around a corner. This thing flattened out, and it felt like we were going to be okay. The sway bar on this thing is probably not all that stout, but with all the stuff that we've got going on, it's probably something that I won't do. But it would be the only suspension upgrade I would make at this point. Before I wrap it up, I wanted to talk to you about our getting stuck on this trip. So we went out, social distancing, best intentions. We talked about staying home. We talked about not putting somebody else in harm's way if we were to get stuck, have a problem. And I got stuck because I made a bad decision. We are just like everybody else. We want to go out and have some fun. So we'll think about that and what the implications are. I'm embarrassed about it. I want to do the right thing, but I also want to go out and have some fun. So anyway, I just want to give you some perspective on just exactly how far we were down. There's another photo that I took that shows we were in up to the axle midline, and the running boards were buried. I've got a couple of big plates down on the bottom protecting the transmission and the gas tank. There's a couple of those are folded in a little bit. So we were sitting on a rock bed, and the way that they patched up this road, the road went down a hill, and there was a bog at the bottom of it. So they brought in a bunch of big rock, And a couple trucks went through, packed it down, and in the ruts, which were pretty much, we were dragging on the ruts on the way through, all that stuff had mashed up into the goop that's down in there. So when we got in it finally, there was just a little bit of dry rock on top and we just sunk right in. So we had to call a wrecker. He came out 45 miles. Fortunately, we had GPS and some cell phone service. So we communicated with him and he came out and hauled us out. He brought extra cable. I gave him some good photos and satellite lock. And with some effort, he was able to haul us up out of the hill. It's just one short hill, probably about 100 yards we needed to go. But it started raining by the time he got there, and it was just slick. When he told me when he got there, he said, well, there's good news and there's bad news. Good news is I think I can haul you out of that rut, and I think I can get you up the hill. The bad news is I ain't driving down this hill. And so we worked together from the top of the hill. I had some chain, he had 2 cables. We locked off of one of the trees. Fortunately, we had a good tree to pull off of, and we got out of there. But he took pictures. He was the greatest guy. I had him on the phone, and I think he was on the fence. It was like probably his Sunday, and he's sitting at home and hanging out and hoping for an easy tow on the highway. And we got talking, and I told him, look, dude, we're stuck, and there's no way out of this without your help. So he said, man, that's why I'm here, and he came out and he helped us out. So I'm gonna do my best to write them a good Google review. Experienced, good guy. I feel real lucky we got out of there when we did. It was ugly. Anyway, lesson learned. Melissa told me, I remember her asking kind of after we got out of there, I remember her saying, are you sure you want to go down this or you just want to back it up? Because we were probably 100 yards from this gate that we got turned at. And I said, no, I'll be okay. And, famous last words. So anyway, safe and sound, learned something, good experience. Now that I'm not in it, it was a good experience. So.
Thanks for watching. And how about a thumbs up? Next time, we're back to the boat for more adventures.